Chapter 3940. As time passed, Wang Xian was at a cultivator in the ocean. 1,000,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. In front of Wang Xian, the mirror image flower gradually dissipated. As the last mirror image flower dissipated, Wang Xian opened his eyes and revealed a smile. "It's a lot better than I expected," Wang Xian said as he sensed the space power in his body. His current realm had been elevated to the fifth-order universe venerable realm. It was considered very fast for him to reach such a level in 1,000,000 years. After all, every breakthrough required him to break through one shackle after another. This was partly due to the realm of Wang Xian's body and the memories he had absorbed from several space attribute experts. He had gained some knowledge about the convenience of cultivation. My improvement might be slower from now on. But if I can get a lot of resources, the speed of improvement shouldn't be too slow, Wang Xian said. Resources were the most important thing for universe cultivators. Resources represented opportunities and the speed of improvement. Without resources, no matter how high one's talent was, it would be useless. Wang Xian made a move and immediately flew upwards. As he flew out of the sea, he flew towards the center of the sword and sorcery land according to the memories in his mind. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Wang Xian adjusted the space power in his body and constantly performed teleportation. Teleportation was the biggest advantage of space cultivators. It was also the strongest point of space cultivators. Teleportation, appearing and disappearing. It was extremely terrifying. Wang Xian tried teleportation for a few hours. After he was completely familiar with it, he flew directly. At present, the speed of teleportation was not as fast as his own speed. It was especially so when he had the help of the Heaven Yuan creation treasure fragment. After flying for 10 years, Wang Xian began to use the teleportation formation for long-distance teleportation midway. After 1,000 years, Wang Xian finally arrived at the center of the sword and sorcery land. The center also represented the core of the universe and the place with the densest energy. In the center, it was easier to find all kinds of treasures and lands. Wang Xian sat quietly in a corner in an employment plaza, drinking tea. The employment plaza was a major feature of the sword and sorcery universe. Here, one could find all kinds of information and earn some resources. Of course, this was dependent on completing some missions or having enough magic stones. Other than that, one could also issue various missions here. Every city had this kind of employment plaza. Wang Xian sat there. With a wave of his arm, he used the soul assimilation technique to obtain all kinds of memories and information. No one knew. This was the fastest way for Wang Xian to gather information. Along the way, Wang Xian had a deep understanding of this universe. I heard that many experts from the sacred academies, holy lands, and forbidden lands have gone to the Void Moon. TSK, that place is really lively. Indeed. Many geniuses have gone there. After all, the Void Moon used to be an ancient battlefield. There are many treasures there. If you're lucky, you might be able to obtain some inheritance. This is definitely a treasure land for geniuses and chosens. After all, due to the Void Moon's uniqueness, even Universe Lord Realm powerhouses cannot enter. At this moment, the sounds of discussion could be heard from the surroundings. Wang Xian listened by the side without any change in his expression. Forbidden Land, Void Moon. Wang Xian had already heard of this news and understood a lot about it. Void Moon was the name of a forbidden area. This was a rather powerful forbidden ground. During its glory days, it had a few thousand universe ruler-level experts. However, due to internal strife, the entire Void Moon was in ruins. All the experts died. Hence, the Void Moon had become a treasure land to the experts and disciples of the outside world. However, the Void Moon had a special characteristic. The reason why the Forbidden Land, Void Moon, was called Void Moon was because it was a special treasure land. In this treasure land, the creator of the Void Moon used some unknown method to prevent ruler realm experts from entering. Of course, this was limited to the experts of the outside world. For the Void Moon's sovereign realm experts, they could enter the Void World. However, the experts of the Void Moon were all dead. This also meant that only those below the ruler realm could enter the Void Moon. Originally, the Forbidden Land, Void Moon, used this method to protect other powerful forces from invasion. Now, it had become a treasure land for those below the ruler realm. However, this treasure land was also full of danger. Within the lair of a forbidden land, there would naturally be some defensive and offensive magical arrays. A magic array of this level would be fatal to anyone below the ruler realm. Opportunity and danger coexisted. This void moon had only opened in the last few hundred years, and it attracted a large number of forbidden lands of the Sacred Institute. A large number of geniuses and chosen had come. The central mainland is filled with geniuses and chosen. Sigh, how great would it be if I could become a genius chosen? A middle-aged man beside him couldn't help but sigh. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the area, then he moved and left. Just as the middle-aged man had said, the center of the sword and magic universe was filled with geniuses and chosen. In the sword and magic continent, 80% of the people were humans. This was also the reason why this universe was different from the Nine Origins universe. The Nine Origins universe had all kinds of bloodlines and physiques. Moreover, the experts of the powerful races had created powerful cultivation methods according to their bloodlines and physiques. Only the experts of their own race could cultivate. Bloodlines and physiques were more important in the Nine Origins universe. Without bloodlines and physiques, it was extremely difficult for the experts and disciples of the high-level races to reach the peak. The sword and magic universe was different. They had all kinds of cultivation methods. As long as they had them, they could cultivate. In comparison, the threshold was very low. Every living being, if they were lucky, had a chance to step into the ruler realm. This was also why the number of ruler realm experts in this universe was not small. At least according to the memories Wang Xian had obtained, there were not many ruler realm experts in this universe. However, Wang Xian felt that the number of ruler realm experts in this universe was much lower than in the Nine Origins universe. Bloodlines and physiques had their own benefits, and this kind of cultivation method also had its own benefits. Compared to ordinary living beings, the cultivation environment in the sword and magic universe was slightly better. There were indeed many geniuses and chosen here. However, these geniuses and chosen only addressed experts below the ruler realm as such. If there's a treasure land, I naturally have to go and take a look. Wang Xian prepared to go and take a look when he received news about the Void Moon. Chapter 3941. Wang Xian lacked resources for his cultivation. A powerful forbidden land was something Wang Xian could take a look at. If he could get some resources, it would be of great benefit to his future cultivation. Moreover, the resources in a forbidden land might even be able to benefit Wang Xian's real body. After all, Wang Xian was only a fourth-order universe lord. The forbidden land, Moon of the Void, was high up in the sky. Before the Moon of the Void was destroyed, there was a teleportation array that could reach the outer area. But after it was destroyed, the teleportation array was destroyed and never rebuilt. In the universe of swords and magic, there was an end to the sky. At the end of the sky, there was a chaotic space. The Moon of the Void was suspended high up in the sky. Their lair was a huge meteorite in the shape of a crescent moon. The entire crescent moon was emitting a faint glow and was unusually eye-catching in the sky. Around it, there were many buildings floating in the air around the crescent moon. But now, it looked like it was in ruins. It had become a wasteland. After receiving information about the Moon of the Void, it took him 5 years to get here. The central mainland was huge. Even at Wang Xian's full speed, it took him 10 days just to fly up into the sky. This was like living in the sky. This crescent moon is really huge. Wang Xian looked up at the core of the Moon of the Void, which was still emitting light, and murmured. The experts and disciples of the Moon of the Void called this core crescent moon as the Sacred Moon. At this moment, Wang Xian could vaguely see a large number of figures around the Sacred Moon. Some of them were even emitting a powerful aura. There are quite a number of sovereign realm experts. Wang Xian looked over and his eyes lit up. Looks like there are quite a number of sacred lands and forbidden lands here. Wang Xian thought to himself. He hid his main body and teleported forward. Soon, Wang Xian arrived below the Sacred Moon. At the Sacred Moon, The most eye-catching thing was a void gate. The void gate was located at the top of the sacred moon. The entire void gate was 1,000 meters wide. In fact, it could be considered very small. At this moment, there were many buildings gathered in front of the gate. There were buildings of various shapes. Some were like bridges, while others were like floating islands. There were also unique clouds. It was obvious that this was a different level of strength. Wang Xian swept his gaze across. Combining the information he had obtained in his mind, he knew that these forces were all from the various sacred grounds, forbidden grounds, and sacred institute. As for those sovereign realm experts, they were obviously experts from the sacred institute. Wang Xian had no idea why they were guarding this place. Huang Xiaolong's divine sense swept out, and he sensed that there were more than a dozen sovereign realm experts in each of the forces. The strongest among them had already reached the 6th order sovereign realm. Even in the 9 Essences universe, he would be considered a core expert of one of the most powerful races. To think that a forbidden land would attract so many experts from the sacred academies and holy lands. It's definitely not as simple as a fortuitous encounter for their disciples. There must be some other reason behind this, said Zhongxian. Wang Xian looked around and thought to himself. As for the reason, Wang Xian had no idea. Looking at the void gate, he could see disciples going in and out of it from time to time. Wang Xian looked around and pondered for a moment. Eventually, he decided to enter directly. He moved his body and came to the bottom of the void gate. At this moment, Wang Xian felt some eyes staring at him. He raised his eyebrows and was about to step into it. Wang. However, when he got closer, he felt the presence of a wave of energy. This surprised him slightly. He moved his body and hid his true body, separating from the void gate. On the other hand, Wang Xian's void divine dragon body continued to fly deeper. Wang. When he came to the void gate, Wang Xian's body entered easily. In an instant, a wave of majestic spatial energy came over. Hey! The spatial energy here is so abundant. Moreover, the area inside is much larger than it looks from the outside. Is it because of the spatial energy? Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he entered. Looking inside, he could see a large number of ruins. Only a few buildings were still intact, and they were shrouded by some energy. Wang Xian looked over and immediately flew inside. Wang Xian's true body appeared outside. He built a simple building and sat there, waiting quietly. Someone's here. When Wang Xian entered the sacred moon and flew forward, he saw 2 young men flying out. One of them had a horrifying wound on his body and was extremely weak. The moon pagoda isn't a place we can enter. It's too dangerous inside. I really don't know how that bunch of demons managed to enter the upper levels of the moon pagoda. The 2 of them spoke dejectedly. They took a glance at Wang Xian and continued to fly towards the exit cautiously. Moon pagoda? Wang Xian murmured when he heard them. Because this void divine dragon body was weaker, he couldn't use the soul-sucking power. Therefore, Wang Xian didn't know what was going on inside and could only explore by himself. Wang Xian scanned his surroundings and came to the nearest building that was still intact. The entire sacred moon was huge. Not far from the entrance, there was a complete building. It looked like a courtyard and a small river. However, the courtyard and the small river were shrouded by a magical array. They weren't destroyed, but it was difficult for others to enter. Wang Xian came to the front of the building and flew above to take a look. The magical array has shrouded this place without any blind spots. I can't enter at all. Wang Xian looked over and raised his eyebrows slightly. According to his senses, unless a powerful force was used to break into this courtyard, no one would be able to enter. Otherwise, there was no way out. In order to break this magical array, one would probably need the strength of a 3rd or 4th order universe lord. Even space attribute cultivators would be able to block this magic formation. As a universe with the space attribute, the experts here would naturally guard against space attribute space teleportation. Therefore, only those with great strength could enter. Otherwise, they could forget about entering. It was a dead zone. However, Wang Xian guessed that there might be some decent treasures in this courtyard. As the entrance of the sacred moon, Many powerful forces would place some items at the entrance to showcase their strength. This item might not be the best, but it wouldn't be too bad either. Chapter 3942. Wang Xian frowned as he looked at the area shrouded by the array. After a closer look, he couldn't do anything about it. Although Enlai could ignore the magical array, Wang Xian couldn't contact him now. They weren't in the same universe, so Wang Xian couldn't sense the Dragon Palace. Therefore, he couldn't summon Enlai over. Before stepping into the sword and sorcery universe, Wang Xian and Enlai had an agreement to contact each other once every 10,000 years. At that time, he would set up a demonic soul altar, and Enlai would find a new demonic soul altar before teleporting over. There were still 5 to 6,000 years before Wang Xian could contact Enlai. However, Wang Xian wasn't in a hurry. He might stay in this area for another 5 to 6,000 years. When Enlai came, he could let him take the treasures away. As he thought about it, Wang Xian continued to fly in. As he flew further in, there were collapsed buildings everywhere. However, there was a building ahead that was unusually eye-catching. It was a pagoda. The entire pagoda occupied about 1/10 of this space. The pagoda stood in the center and was more than 100,000 meters tall. The entire pagoda was divided into more than a dozen levels. Wang Xian looked at the pagoda before sweeping his gaze across the surroundings. He wandered around the area. It was either a collapsed building or an area covered by a magic array. He couldn't enter areas shrouded by magic arrays. This pagoda was the most complete one. He moved and flew into the pagoda. There was only one entrance to the pagoda. Wang Xian stood at the entrance and looked up. The words Pagoda of the Moon were engraved on the entrance. He moved and flew in. Wong wong wong. The moment he entered, a wave of majestic energy rushed over. This energy contained the 10 attributes of the sword and sorcery universe. Wang Xian was astonished by the intensity of the energy. This level of energy intensity is comparable to the powerful treasured lands occupied by the pinnacle races in the Nine-Source universe. Wang Xian murmured. This forbidden land, the Moon of the Void, could be considered a pinnacle race in the Nine-Source universe. The pagoda of the moon is full. Get out now. At this moment, those who weren't strong enough should get out. However, just as Wang Xian entered, a cold voice was heard immediately. He was taken aback for a moment, and he looked inside. The first floor of the moon tower was spacious enough. However, at this moment, the first level was densely packed with young and middle-aged men seated cross-legged. At the door, a young man stared at him coldly, full of warning. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he looked at the ground. The floor of the hall on the first floor of the moon tower was made of a type of square-shaped magic stone. Each sorcerer's stone was the same size, but it was divided into 10 attributes. There was a powerhouse sitting cross-legged on top of each sorcerer's stone. The majestic energy was coming from beneath the sorcerer's stone. Seeing this, Wang Xian had a slight understanding of the situation. There were thousands of these sorcerer's stones on the first floor of the moon tower. Everyone occupied a magic stone to cultivate. The number of people here was already full. If they wanted to enter and cultivate again, they might have to show some of their strength. Moreover, Wang Xian was a space attribute cultivator. If he wanted to cultivate, he would have to occupy a space attribute magical stone. Looking around, Wang Xian fixed his eyes on the cultivators of the space attribute. In the entire hall, most of them were at least level 6 universe venerables. It was especially so for the 9 attribute experts outside the space. Most of them were at least level 7 or level 8 universe venerables. Within the sacred moon, there was a limit to how many people could enter. There was an age limit. Those who could enter could become cultivators with great potential. Those who were very old and had not broken through for a long time couldn't enter. Wang Xian's eyes fell on a level 5 universe venerable with a space attribute cultivator. He instantly went to the sorcerer's stone where the young man was. That young man was cultivating. When he saw Wang Xian, his eyes immediately turned cold. You're asking for it. Are you challenging me? He stared at Wang Xian. With a wave of his arm, a sharp sword appeared in his hand. This position is mine. Wang Xian looked at him and said plainly. Fine. The young man stared coldly at Wang Xian. With a move, he flew out. "Let me see what makes you think you have the right to snatch my position," a voice sounded in Wang Xian's ears. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings. With a swift move, he followed closely behind and flew out. Clearly, there was an unspoken rule here. To occupy a position, one had to go outside to spar. Only the winner had the right. Go to hell. The moment Wang Xian appeared, countless sharp swords swarmed towards him. They were ruthless and didn't give him any time to react. Wang Xian saw countless sharp swords flying towards him. He swung the sword in his hand. Sword shield. With a low grunt, a sword shield appeared around him and easily blocked the attacks of the sharp swords. TSK, unity of swords. In the sky, the young man snorted coldly. With a wave of his arm, a sharp sword slashed towards Wang Xian. The surrounding sharp swords merged with the sharp sword and slashed towards Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked over. With a flash, he disappeared and appeared on the right of the young man. Teleportation, I know it too. Unity of man and sword. The young man's eyes lit up. His figure appeared on the huge sharp sword in a creepy manner. At the same time, he teleported with the sharp sword. Oh! Wang Xian sensed the energy fluctuation around him and raised his eyebrows. The sharp sword in his hand immediately slashed towards the position behind him. Bam! In the next moment, his sword radiance collided with the huge sword that the young man had condensed. You actually sensed where I teleported to? The young man narrowed his eyes when he saw Wang Xian's attack coming at him the moment he appeared. A vigilant look appeared on his face. In a battle between space attribute cultivators, those with strong senses would have a great advantage. This was because the opponent could sense where you teleported to and attack that position the moment you teleported. Alright, I'm not going to play with you anymore. Wang Xian looked at the young man and said plainly. He continued to teleport and appeared on the left of the young man. Sword cross. At the same time, he swung the sharp sword in his hand and shouted. A huge cross sword was formed and slashed towards the young man. Chapter 3943, Sword Cross. With the young man in the center, the two swords of space on the left and right sealed him off instantly. Wang Xian had already left behind a sword mound on the other side. It was a piece of cake for Wang Xian to deal with a space swordsman of the same level as him. With just one sword mound and the other, Wang Xian could easily defeat him. Wang. The sword cross struck towards the young man. The young man's eyes narrowed and his expression changed slightly. He shook his body and sharp swords emerged from his body. The sharp swords met the sword cross directly. Bam bam bam. Sounds of collision rang continuously. However, Wang Xian's sword cross seemed to be endless. This caused the young man's expression to change drastically. His eyes revealed a tinge of fear. Ah! He roared and dodged to the side at the risk of being attacked. Fart. However, although he managed to escape the envelopment of the sword cross, his body was penetrated and a large amount of blood flowed out. Wang Xian stood there and stared at the young man quietly. Huff huff, huff huff. The young man's face was filled with cold sweat. He looked at Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression. Wang Xian ignored him and flew straight into the moon pagoda. The young man could only clench his fists. He was indignant but could do nothing about it. To be able to defeat me so easily at the same level, this guy's strength isn't simple. He took a deep breath. Perhaps, he can enter the second level or even the third level. Wang Xian entered the moon pagoda again. When he landed on the space attribute magic stone, some of the surrounding space attribute experts couldn't help but look in his direction. Their faces revealed a tinge of shock. The battle between Wang Xian and the young man lasted less than a minute. However, the outcome was decided so quickly. His strength shocked many people. It was especially so for the rank 5 space swordsmen of the universe venerable realm. Their faces were solemn. Wang Xian ignored the surrounding gazes. He stood on the magic stone and could feel an extremely powerful energy. This energy was only slightly weaker than the mirror image flowers he absorbed. This caused a glimmer of light to appear in his eyes. Wang. Sitting cross-legged on the magic stone, a wave of space power gushed into his body. At the same time, a message appeared in Wang Xian's mind. Ascend to the level. He opened his eyes, a look of surprise on his face. Yes, ascending the floor. The so-called ascending level was to enter the second level from the first level. In order to enter the second floor, one had to undergo a test. This test was to defeat 2 opponents of the same level. As long as he succeeded, he would be able to step into the second floor. In addition, if he wanted to enter the third level from the second level, he would have to fight against 4 opponents of the same level. If he wanted to step into the fourth level, he would have to fight against 8 opponents of the same level as him. And so on. The entire Tower of the Moon had a total of 12 floors. The higher the level, the more abundant the energy. Doesn't that mean that if you can reach the top level, your cultivation speed there will be comparable to cultivating in the most precious land in the 9 essences universe? Wang Xian's eyes lit up. To him, this was simply a holy land for cultivation. With a thought, a stream of energy was injected into the magic stone. Buzz. Immediately after, a gust of energy wrapped Wang Xian up. In the next instant, he disappeared. He issued a challenge as soon as he arrived. How confident. In the surrounding area, some experts sensed the situation at Wang Xian's side and exclaimed in shock. At the same time, Wang Xian appeared in a unique space. There was no end to the entire space. In front of him, there were 2 figures. These 2 figures were exactly the same as him, however, this was just a mirror image. Only their faces were the same as Wang Xian's. Everything else was different. When the 2 of them saw Wang Xian, they paused for 3 seconds before disappearing instantly. In the next second, Wang Xian sensed spatial fluctuations on his left and right side. The 2 illusions of him launched their attacks at the same time. One on the left and the other on the right. If he was just an ordinary rank 5 universe venerable, he wouldn't be a match for 2 opponents of the same level. Swish. However, before they appeared, Wang Xian's attack had already engulfed the left side. The ice-cold sword of space rotated continuously, erupting with terrifying destructive power. Phut, phut, phut. The moment the dumbfounded virtual figure appeared, the attack had already landed on the virtual figure's body. The powerful destructive power continuously destroyed the virtual figure's body. This made the virtual figure a little illusory. However, the virtual figure didn't know pain. With a jerk of his arm, the sharp sword in his hand shot towards Wang Xian. At the same time, he hugged Wang Xian. It looked like he wanted to perish together with Wang Xian. On the right side, the virtual figure also charged over instantly. Swish. Seeing this, Wang Xian's expression didn't change at all as he waved his arm. One by one, sharp swords formed around him. However, the sharp swords broke down rapidly like glass. The force of impact caused one of the virtual figures in front of him to disappear. At the same time, this force of impact also stopped the virtual figure behind him. Wang Xian's figure flickered as he stared at the other virtual figure with a smile. Although this virtual figure looked exactly the same as Wang Xian, its strength was only that of an ordinary rank 5 universe venerable. Wang Xian could deal with this level easily. Swish swish. In less than 10 seconds, the second illusory figure was easily killed by Wang Xian. Wang Wang. After the death of the 2 virtual figures, Wang Xian sensed that the scenery around him began to change. Soon after, he appeared in the second level of the Moon Pagoda. Oh! Another newcomer. After he arrived, a voice sounded. Wang Xian looked around and realized there were a total of 500 to 600 people on the second level. This group of people had varying strengths, ranging from rank 5 universe venerable to pinnacle universe venerable. The sorcerer's stone on the second level wasn't fully occupied. There were still dozens of empty seats. Wang Xian looked at the sorcerer's stone beneath him. He sat down with his legs crossed. An even more majestic energy surged into his body. The intensity of the energy here was twice as strong as the first level. This made Wang Xian reveal a satisfied expression. He moved and prepared to continue climbing the level. Continue the challenge. Wang. His figure disappeared and appeared in another space. However, this time, there were 4 opponents. 4 virtual figures of the same level as Wang Xian. Wang Xian's lips curved slightly when he saw them. With Wang Xian's current mastery of heavenly yuan swordsmanship, he wouldn't feel the slightest pressure against opponents of the same level. Whether it was 2 or 4, it was just a matter of time. Continue. Let's see if I can reach the top. If I can, I might be able to cultivate to the level of the universe dominator. His figure moved, and he directly attacked. Chapter 3944, Wang. In the space of the second level, Wang Xian only took a minute to kill the 4 shadows of the same level. When the 4 illusionary figures were all killed, Wang Xian appeared in the third level. Ha! The moment he appeared, some people looked over. Wang Xian swept his gaze across. There were about 70 to 80 people on this level. Most of them were sitting cross-legged and cultivating. To be able to defeat 4 of them at once, these people were either very experienced or had powerful swordsmanship and treasures. Wang Xian sat on the magic stone and sensed it with his mind. On the third level, the energy in the magic stone was even more majestic. Cultivating here was no weaker than cultivating with the mirror image flower. This is indeed a sacred place for cultivation, Wang Xian exclaimed. With a thought, he continued his challenge. Fighting against 4 people of the same level wasn't Wang Xian's limit. When they entered that space again, this time, there were 8 existences of the same level. Wang Xian moved his body and charged forward immediately. The battle was still very easy for Wang Xian. This time, it took him 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, his figure disappeared without a trace. Ha! He actually entered the next level so quickly. Which Holy Land or Forbidden Area's core disciple did he come from? At the third level, some experts narrowed their eyes when they saw Wang Xian ascending to the next level. They exclaimed in surprise. Those who could enter the third level were all core disciples from the Sacred Grounds and the Sacred Institute. However, none of them believed that it was Wang Xian. Therefore, they couldn't help but speculate if it was another force from a sacred ground or forbidden land. Wang Xian didn't know what they were guessing. At this moment, he was already on the 4th level. There were much fewer people on the 4th level. There were only slightly more than 20 of them. Wang Xian's arrival attracted the attention of the crowd again. To be able to step into this level, one was basically a very famous Heaven's Chosen. Hey brother, which force are you from? A young man looked at Wang Xian and asked directly. No sect. Wang Xian replied plainly, after which, he sat on the magic stone with his legs crossed. With a thought, he continued his challenge. Ha! His continuing his challenge? No sect. The crowd was slightly taken aback as they watched Wang Xian's figure vanish. If he wanted to reach the 5th floor, he would have to challenge the top 16. It shouldn't be a problem for Wang Xian to deal with 16 opponents of the same level. In less than 10 minutes, Wang Xian arrived at the 5th level. At the 4th level, when the crowd saw that Wang Xian had successfully entered the 5th level, they were shocked. He entered the 5th level as soon as he arrived. Amazing. Investigate this young man's identity immediately. To be able to defeat 16 people at the same level as him, he is already in the ranks of the top geniuses. Some of the chosen on the 4th level immediately sent word back to the Sacred Lands and the Sacred Institute. The Sacred Moon was a huge treasure to any sacred ground or forbidden land. All the powers were coveting it and thinking of ways to get their hands on the Sacred Moon. According to the conjectures of the experts in the Sacred Grounds and Forbidden Grounds, if one wanted to control the entire Holy Moon, they would have to first control the Tower of the Moon. As for the control mechanism of the Tower of the Moon, it was very likely to be at the top. The sudden appearance of a young man stepping into the 5th level was something that all the Sacred Grounds and Forbidden Lands had to pay close attention to. Which faction? When Wang Xian appeared on the 5th level, a voice was heard immediately. Around him, more than 20 pairs of eyes were staring at Wang Xian in shock. No sect. Wang Xian replied plainly. He sat cross-legged on the magic stone and continued with his challenge. His action once again caused the crowd of geniuses to be astounded. Those who could reach the 5th level were all the top geniuses of the various forces. They were second only to the saints and saintesses of the Sacred Lands. There were even some saints among them who were stuck at the 5th level. Wang Xian was puzzled by the consecutive inquiries. However, He didn't think too deeply about it. He wanted to reach a higher level and cultivate there for a period of time. He entered the challenge space once again. This time, it wasn't 32 virtual shadows of the same level. Instead, it was the virtual shadows of a rank 6 universe venerable. Fighting against those of a higher level? Wang Xian chuckled. With a swift move, he dashed over. He didn't feel any pressure fighting against those of a higher level. As his strength increased and his understanding of the Tianyuan swordsmanship deepened, his swordsmanship became even more terrifying. At the level of the Eternal Swordmaster, Wang Xian could already fight against those of a higher level. Now, it would be even easier for him to fight against those of a higher level. With the combination of Wang Xian's sword tomb, it wasn't difficult for him to fight against those of a higher level. This shouldn't be my limit, Wang Xian thought to himself as he shifted his body. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. When Wang Xian appeared on the 6th level, 10 pairs of eyes fell on him. All of them locked their gazes on him. Wang Xian looked over. There were only 10 people on the 6th level. Each of them looked dignified and had a unique aura. However, Wang Xian merely swept a glance at them and continued to sit cross-legged on the magic stone. Brother, which sacred ground or forbidden land are you from? One of the long-haired young men asked plainly. No sect. Wang Xian repeated this sentence and disappeared immediately. What? His continuing the challenge? Challenging 2 existences that are a level higher than him? No sect. Who is he trying to fool? How can a rank 5 universe venerable with no background reach where he is today? The 10 young men and women commented in disbelief when they saw Wang Xian continuing the challenge. They could easily sense Wang Xian's strength. He was merely a rank 5 universe venerable. How could he not have any background if he could reach this level with such strength? The 10 young men's eyes flickered as they passed on the information. At the same time, they fixed their gazes on the magic stone that Wang Xian had disappeared from. They waited quietly. All of these young men and women were from formidable hallowed grounds, forbidden grounds, and sacred institute. They had relied on powerful treasures and techniques to reach this level. This was also the limit that all the saints and saintesses could reach at the moment. As for the 7th level, no one had entered it yet. The 10 saints and saintesses stared at the magic stone that Wang Xian had disappeared from. Time ticked by. After an hour, the 10 saints and saintesses had a drastic change in their expressions. He actually made it to the 7th level. The 10 saints and saintesses exclaimed in shock. Chapter 3945. Which force is he from? How did he enter level 7? Are there more saints and saintesses from other sacred grounds? Moreover, he managed to ascend to level 7. Will he enter level 8? Or even higher? Damn it. How did this guy appear out of nowhere? He's only a 5th order universe venerable and he managed to enter level 7. Wang Xian's entry made the faces of the 10 saints and saintesses darken. Currently, all the saints and saintesses from the sacred grounds and sacred institute had only reached level 6. They were currently in a state of balance. Now, a young man had appeared out of nowhere and entered level 7. This caused their faces to be filled with solemn expressions. If they could obtain a treasure land from a forbidden area, it would be a huge improvement to any sacred ground. Both of them could increase his strength by quite a bit. But now, a young man had broken the balance. Most importantly, they did not know anything about this young man. They did not even know which sacred ground he came from. This made them very worried. I've received news that the young man from before actually directly stepped into the 7th floor from the 1st floor. He didn't stop at all along the way. He killed his way up. At this time, a saint suddenly received a message and said. The rest of the holy sons and holy daughters were also stunned, and their faces were filled with shock. Did he come prepared? A saintess asked with flickering eyes. No one could answer this question of hers. However, at this time, the experts from the sacred grounds and sacred institute around the sacred moon began to move. They began to search for information on Wang Xian based on the information of the disciples in the sacred moon. At the same time, more than a dozen sacred grounds and sacred institute searched together. However, what shocked them was that no matter how hard they searched, they could not find any information on Wang Xian. This caused the experts from the Sacred Institute to have extremely unsightly expressions. Could it be that some powerful sacred grounds are also trying to get their hands on the forbidden area, Void Moon? The experts from the sacred grounds guessed with a bitter expression. All saints and saintesses, ascend to level 7 as soon as possible. At that moment, the Holy Lands, Forbidden Grounds, and Sacred Institute quickly issued an order. Wang Xian did not know that he had caused a huge uproar when he entered level 7. At this moment, he was in the 7th level, and did not continue to challenge. Wang Xian found it a little strenuous to fight against two existences that were a level higher than him. If there was one more person, the chances of defeating the three of them were not very high. Therefore, Wang Xian did not intend to continue the challenge. However, when Wang Xian stepped into the 7th level, he saw an unexpected surprise. At the front of the 7th floor, there was a table with some items on it. Wang Xian flew to the front and scanned through the items one by one with a smile on his face. One was a flame sword, and the other was a water sword. It was a metal-type magic book with records of metal-type spells. Apart from these, there were also some medicinal pills. There were more than 100 second-order universe sovereign realm medicinal pills in total. Other than that, the only thing useful to Wang Xian was a pair of shoes. A pair of shoes that contained the power of space. It was quite useful in sensing and capturing space. These shoes were actually comparable to pre-celestial precious treasures of the 9 Essences universe. He had the ability to teleport. As long as the power of space flowed into it, it would be possible to teleport. The distance of teleportation was about 10 times that of Wang Xian's current teleportation. To the current Wang Xian, this was indeed a decent treasure. As for the rest, there was nothing else. Wang Xian wasn't too interested in these treasures. To those saints and saintesses, these were definitely rare treasures. But not Wang Xian. These items were very ordinary to him. Perhaps only the treasures at the top level of the Moon Pagoda could catch his eye. It's really not that easy to reach the top level of the Moon Pagoda, Wang Xian mumbled to himself. On the 7th floor, he would have to fight against two opponents who were a level higher than him. What about the 8th floor? There were still the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th floors above the 8th floor. How many opponents would he have to fight against? Even Wang Xian wasn't very confident now. However, Wang Xian wasn't in a hurry. He was prepared to cultivate on the 7th floor. When the time to contact Enlai was up, he would let Enlai teleport over to take a look. With that in mind, Wang Xian kept the treasures on the 7th floor and sat down to cultivate. If Wang Xian were to cultivate here for 1,000,000 years, he could reach the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm. If he could reach the top level of the Moon Pagoda, it wouldn't be a problem to cultivate to the sovereign realm. Perhaps after cultivating for a few 100,000,000 years, his strength would be on par with his original body. As he thought to himself, Wang Xian absorbed quickly. Thousands of years passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Xian opened his eyes and looked at the time. He then set up a devil spirit altar in front of him. Buzz. Buzz. 10 minutes later, Enlai appeared. Greetings, Dragon King. Enlai greeted Wang Xian respectfully when he saw him. How's the Dragon Palace? Wang Xian asked Enlai with a smile. Dragon King, everything is fine in the Dragon Palace. All the disciples are improving rapidly. Enlai immediately replied, Prime Minister Turtle asked me to bring you a message. He asked you not to worry about the Dragon Palace. That's good. Wang Xian nodded his head in satisfaction. He looked at Enlai and said, Enlai, this is a treasure land. See if you can teleport to the top level. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded and looked up. His figure moved and instantly disappeared. However, a few seconds later, Enlai's figure appeared. Dragon King, I teleported upwards and entered a space turbulence. I couldn't find any direction after many teleportations. This place is very strange. Enlai said. What's wrong? You can't enter the top level? Wang Xian looked at Enlai in surprise. I don't know the exact location of the top level. Therefore, I can only teleport at will. I've teleported dozens of times and haven't encountered such a space. Enlai shook his head. But Dragon King, I can try again. Go and try. See if you can enter the top level. Wang Xian knitted his eyebrows and instructed. If Enlai could teleport to the top level, it would be a great benefit to Wang Xian. He could easily reach the top level of the Moon Pagoda. At that time, the effects of cultivating at the top level would be terrifying. Chapter 3946, Wang Wang. Enlai's figure appeared and disappeared from time to time. He was trying again and again. Wang Xian stood at the side and waited quietly. Dragon King, it doesn't work. I've tried a few thousand times and I feel like I've entered another space. I teleported in that space but I still ended up in another space. It's very strange. I can't find the direction in that space. Enlai tried over 1,000 times. When he appeared in front of Wang Xian again, he frowned and said helplessly, "You're right. It doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then forget it." Wang Xian felt a little helpless. If Enlai could enter the previous space, the benefits would be too great. However, the space that Wang Xian was in seemed to be located in a space crevice. If Enlai wanted to teleport inside, he would probably need a coordinate. Without the coordinate, it would be difficult to go to the next level. The universe of swords and sorcery itself has space attributes. Therefore, they have high attainments in space. This setting is probably to prevent cultivators with space attributes from entering the next level using this method. Wang Xian thought to himself. He looked at Enlai and said, "Enlai, follow me. Although you can't enter this place, there's a place you can enter." As he spoke, with a thought, he appeared outside the Moon Tower. This was one of the abilities of the Moon Pagoda. As long as one could enter the first level of the Moon Pagoda and above, one could exit it instantly. To enter it, one only needed to get close to the Moon Pagoda to enter the 7th level. After Wang Xian went out, he immediately set up a devil spirit altar. Wang. In the next second, Enlai appeared beside Wang Xian. "Let's go." Wang Xian moved and flew towards the direction of the entrance. Wang Xian had completed his inspection of the entire sacred moon and outside the Moon Pagoda. Other than the area at the entrance that was sealed by the array, there were another 15 such areas. Wang Xian was prepared to let Enlai enter and get the treasures inside. "Enlai, enter here. There should be treasures here." When they arrived at the entrance, Wang Xian instructed Enlai. Enlai nodded and his figure instantly disappeared. In less than a second, he appeared beside Wang Xian. "Dragon King, I'll bring you in." As he spoke, Wang Xian sensed the changes in his surroundings. He appeared above a pool. It was surrounded by an antique courtyard. A wave of majestic water energy came from the pool. Wang Xian looked over and fixed his eyes on the strange water attribute flowers. There was a water-type flower that looked extremely beautiful and gave off a hazy mist, causing the entire courtyard to be filled with celestial qi. There were more than 100 of these water-type flowers. Every single flower had the strength of a 5th-order universe sovereign. "Not bad," said Wang Xian plainly before keeping it. Sweeping his gaze across the surroundings, he did not discover any other treasures. "Let's go to the next place," Wang Xian instructed Enlai. Both of them immediately flew to other places that were completely covered by the magical arrays. As for the other 14 locations covered by magic arrays, the largest one was located behind the Moon Tower. Next to the Moon Tower. However, it was completely enveloped by a magic array. Furthermore, the energy contained within this magic array could not be broken unless one was an 8th-order universe ruler. Enlai entered with ease and brought Wang Xian in. "Hey!" When Wang Xian entered, he revealed a surprised look. "Law's Chamber." This was the name of the building. The 3 striking words hung in the middle. This building was not big. It had 12 floors, similar to the number of floors in the Moon Tower. However, this 12th floor was much lower than the Moon Tower. It was not even 1/10 of the total floor. Wang Xian walked straight in. The first floor was filled with a large number of books. All kinds of cultivation books. The 10 elements were further divided into swordsmanship and magic. Wang Xian checked them out before heading upstairs. The upper floors were not for anyone to enter as they were forbidden. Enlai brought him to the second floor. The second floor was also filled with all kinds of cultivation books. However, the level of the books was higher than the first floor. The number of books was much lesser. As Wang Xian continued to climb the floors, he realized that he was in a library. All the cultivation books in the entire Void Moon Forbidden area were collected here. At the top, there were 6 books. 1 book, Space Sword Technique. 1 book, Flame Magic. 1 book, Flame Sword Technique. 1 book, Water Element Magic. 1 book, Wind Element Magic. 1 book, Wind Element Sword Technique. 6 secret manuals, all of which recorded the cultivation techniques of Universe Lord level experts. In the Sword and Magic universe, these were definitely rare cultivation treasures. If they were released, they could cause disputes in the sacred grounds. These few books were of some use to Wang Xian as well. A brand new way of releasing attacks. Different from the 9-source universe, when combined, it could still increase his strength. After keeping them, Wang Xian ordered Enlai to bring him to other areas. The following areas should be the residences of Universe Lord level experts in the Void Moon in the past. There were traces of survival in more than 10 places. Over there, Wang Xian found some treasures. Among them, there was a sword that he could use. It was a sword of space that was comparable to a carnate cardinal treasure. Other than the sword of space, Wang Xian had also found many other resources. Among which, the most precious resources were 10 elixir pills. Elixir pills of Universe Lord level experts. In addition, Wang Xian found a magic note in the residences of these experts. A magic note used to record information. In this magic note, Wang Xian had a complete understanding of the Void Moon in the Forbidden Grounds. At its peak, there were more than 2,000 Universe Lord level experts in the Void Moon. Among which, the strongest was an 8th Order Universe Lord. 1 was the Master of the Forbidden Grounds, and the other was the Great Elder of the Void Moon. According to the magic note, the Master of the Forbidden Grounds of the Void Moon had always been at odds with the Great Elder. The destruction of the Forbidden Grounds of the Void Moon was also highly likely due to their internal strife. In addition, he found out another piece of information from the magic note. The entire Sacred Moon was a natural treasure. The Sacred Moon was the core of the Void Moon. At the top of the Sacred Moon, there was a way to control the entire Sacred Moon. After Wang Xian got this piece of information, his eyes flickered. The saints and saintesses of the Sacred Grounds and Forbidden Grounds probably came here for this. The entire Sacred Moon is a very powerful treasure ground. Wang Xian muttered to himself as he guessed. Chapter 3947. All the treasures within the Sacred Moon that were enveloped by the magical array were taken by Wang Xian. The rewards were not bad, but there weren't too many surprises. The main reason was that the strength of the Void Moon was still a little weak in Wang Xian's eyes. The strongest only had the strength of an 8th Order Universe Lord. This strength was the weakest in the 9-source universe. Even the royal families of the 9-source universe had pinnacle Universe Lord existences. As for the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian's combat strength was basically at the pinnacle Universe Lord realm. After all, not everyone possessed 2 fragments of the Fortune of Heaven essence. Even the other pinnacle races below the Heaven Yuan creation shard. Wang Xian could easily kill 8th Order Universe sovereigns in an instant. Therefore, Wang Xian didn't care for most of the treasures. There was even one that was the most precious item in the Sword and Magic universe, the Magic Mantle. The mantle also represented the inheritance. This was the information Wang Xian obtained after absorbing a group of experts from the Sword and Magic universe. The Magic Mantle and Sword Bowl were the most precious in this universe. Especially the Magic Mantle and Sword Bowl of the experts. The higher the grade, the more precious it was. This was like the powerful bloodline of the 9-source universe. The Magic Mantle and Sword Bowl had inheritance that could allow the inheritor to improve rapidly. But at the same time, the creation of this Magic Mantle required the maker's life force. It required the creator to seal 1/3 of his strength. Moreover, the Magic Mantle and Sword Bowl could only be passed on to one person. This was the most precious item in the Sword and Magic universe. It was also the treasure of all the disciples of the experts. The magic mantle and sword bowl were more precious than anything else. Wang Xian had the magic mantle of a seventh-order universe lord with the water attribute magic stone. But this item wasn't very useful to Wang Xian. Enlai, bring my real body over. Wang Xian returned to the 7th level of the Moon Pagoda and instructed Enlai. If Enlai could enter directly, then Wang Xian's real body should be able to enter as well. Yes, Dragon King, Enlai nodded. A few seconds later, Wang Xian's real body appeared beside him. This made Wang Xian chuckle. With a move, his real body merged with the body of the Void Divine Dragon. Wang Xian stood there and sensed the space of the 7th level. He wanted to sense the location above. Given my current level of strength, I should be able to break open the surrounding space. However, I am unable to sense the 8th or 9th layer of space. I should not recklessly destroy it. After pondering for a moment, Wang Xian gave up on the idea of using brute force to destroy it. If they destroyed this space and still couldn't find the way to the 8th level, then it would be a huge loss. He was not in a hurry. Cultivating on the 7th floor was already very good. With a thought, Wang Xian sat cross-legged on the space magic stone and began his cultivation. As for Wang Xian's main body, he was also absorbing the energy of other attributes around him. Time passed quickly. Wang Xian's strength was also increasing at a terrifying speed. 200,000 years passed quickly. As for Wang Xian, his strength had also increased to the 8th order universe venerable realm. The speed of improvement was slower than Wang Xian had expected. Breaking through shackles and accumulating spatial energy required a considerable amount of time. Fortunately, this speed was not very slow. Within a few million years, he should be able to break through to the universe ruler realm. Buzz. Pu. Time passed again. However, after more than 10 years, Wang Xian suddenly sensed a fluctuation coming from the side. He opened his eyes and looked over. He saw a figure appearing on a magic stone. However, this figure was covered in blood at this moment, and her injuries were severe. The azure blue magic robe was stained with blood, and a large patch of fair skin was revealed. This was a female sorcerer with the strength of a 7th order universe venerable realm. Wang Xian could not see her face clearly, but he could tell that her figure was perfect. Wang Xian looked over and raised his eyebrows slightly. The woman's aura was extremely weak. Clearly, she had suffered serious injuries in the trial space. However, Wang Xian was a little surprised that she could reach the 7th level. On the 7th level, he would have to challenge 2 experts of the same attributes that were 1 level higher than him. Her entire body is filled with inborn cardinal treasures. Coupled with some trump cards, it might be possible. Wang Xian looked at the items on her body. Seeing that she was lying on the ground on the verge of death, Wang Xian fell into deep thought. The woman was already unconscious. If he did not treat her immediately, she might really die. Wang Xian shook his head. With a wave of his arm, a stream of energy entered the woman's body. Subsequently, he closed his eyes and continued his cultivation. After more than 10 minutes, the woman opened her eyes slowly. She sensed her body and heaved a sigh of relief. However, when she sensed Wang Xian beside her, she quickly sat up. When she saw her tattered clothes, her face blushed and she quickly wrapped them up. Energy enveloped her body. Seeing the figure beside her sitting there motionlessly, she took a few deep breaths. She tidied up the bloodstains and hair on her body, picked up the magic staff beside her, and stood up slowly. I'm Long Yinyin. Thank you for saving me, friend. Long Yinyin cupped her hands at Wang Xian and thanked him. You're welcome. Wang Xian opened his eyes, looked at her, and spoke calmly. I still have to thank you. I know the injuries on my body. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid it wouldn't take long for my vitality to vanish. Long Yinyin shook her head and continued to express her gratitude. You saved my life. Moreover, if I really died, I wouldn't be able to enter the 7th level. Thank you for saving my life. It's nothing. Wang Xian shook his head at her. Just now, Wang Xian merely waved his hand casually and healed her fatal injuries. To him, this was really a small matter. Long Yinyin of the Dragon Cry Forbidden Land, thank you again. Long Yinyan bowed and thanked him again. After which, she looked at Wang Xian and sized him up. With a curious look, she asked, "Which sacred ground and forbidden land saint are you from? You're amazing to have fought your way from the 1st level to the 7th. Moreover, the battle on the 7th level only lasted a few hours. Do you know how long I fought there? More than 500 years, and I was almost killed."
Oh.
Upon hearing her words, Wang Xian looked at her. She was 1.8 meters tall, had a perfect face, and carried a tinge of holiness and curiosity. "You're the saintess of the Dragon Cry Forbidden Land?" Wang Xian asked. "Yes." Long Yinyan nodded her head and asked, "What about you?" "Me? I've already said it when I was on the 6th level. I don't have any influence, and I cultivate alone." Wang Xian answered honestly. Chapter 3948, No Influence. Cultivating alone? Long Yinyan looked at Wang Yun with a shocked expression. She was in disbelief. How could one cultivate alone reach the 7th level of the Moon Pagoda so easily? One had to know that from the 5th level onwards, those who could enter were all geniuses, saints, and saintesses from sacred grounds. In fact, the original 10 people on the 6th level were all saints and saintesses from sacred grounds. How could someone with no background or influence make it to the 7th level? "Indeed. I have no need to hide it," said Wang Xian with a smile. "That's true. If you were from other sacred grounds, you wouldn't have saved me either." Long Yinyan nodded slightly and said, "All the sacred grounds and forbidden grounds were competing for the sacred moon. If Wang Xian was a saint from another sacred ground or forbidden ground, as his competitor, it would be impossible for them to save him. Did you get a powerful sword bowl? It's even more powerful than the saints and saintesses from our sacred grounds." Long Yinyan continued to ask curiously. Wang Xian looked at her and felt that this girl was too talkative. "I guess so." He responded indifferently and continued to cultivate while sitting cross-legged. Seeing that Wang Xian didn't want to talk to her, Long Yinyan gave up and continued to cultivate. Time passed quickly again. 20,000 years later, a third figure appeared on the 7th level. Whoosh whoosh. It was a young saint. He was in a sorry state and had injuries all over his body. After entering the 7th level, he glanced at Long Yinyan and finally fixed his eyes on Wang Xian. "Zhengtian, I didn't expect you to be here too." Long Yinyan stared at the young saint and frowned slightly. Her eyes sparkled. "Why? You want to attack me?" The young man stared at Long Yinyan cautiously. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and revealed a cold expression. Long Yinyan revealed a hesitant look. However, at this moment, a figure gradually appeared on a magical hairstone. Whoosh. The third figure was also a young man. After he appeared, he immediately scanned the surroundings cautiously. Zhengtian Saint, I didn't expect you to be here earlier than me." The young man looked at Zhengtian and said plainly. "Qingyi, we're all injured now, but there's someone who isn't." Righteous Sky's divine son stared at him and said with flickering eyes, "Oh, could it be that she wants to kill us both?" The youth called Qingyi smiled, his gaze locked onto Long Yinyan. Long Yinyan frowned slightly at the sight of yet another chosen. She sat there cross-legged and didn't make any movements. Righteous Sky's son heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that. He and Saint Sun Qingyi looked at each other. Both of them immediately sat cross-legged on the magic stones and began to heal their injuries. Battles could be carried out in this space. They were competitors. Just now, Righteous Sky's saint was really afraid that Dragon Raw Yin would attack him. Perhaps if Holy Sun Qingyi hadn't come, he would have been attacked by Long Yinyan. The four of them sat cross-legged on the magic stone on the 7th floor, quietly cultivating. Wang Xian ignored the two of them. Now that his main body had entered, he could easily crush an existence of this level. Boom. Time passed day by day again. 100 years later, a wave of power suddenly spread over. The sudden energy fluctuation made Wang Xian open his eyes slowly and look to the side. Beside him, the two young men stood up slowly and locked onto Long Yinyan in front of them. Long Yinyan felt their power and locked onto her. She stood up with a solemn face. "Why? You want to deal with me?" Did the experts from your 2 sacred lands discuss it? Long Yinyin stared at them and questioned them in a deep voice. Hihi, you already know the answer. Now, I'll give you 2 choices. One is to leave immediately, and the other is to die here. Long Yinyin, don't think I don't know that you wanted to attack when I first came in. Righteous Sky's Saint stared at Long Yinyin and said coldly. You want to drive me out? With just the 2 of you? Long Yinyin moved her palm and held the azure staff tightly. She was as cold as ice. Water began to condense around her. She stared at the 2 of them and said, the space here is very small. It's not difficult to fight 1 against 2. Is that so? We know each other's strength very well. You want to fight 1 against 2? Hee. Qingyi's Saint sneered. With a flick of his palm, a sharp sword appeared in his hand. Streams of flames circulated on the sharp sword and condensed into the shape of a magical beast. Long Yinyin didn't look too good when she saw them getting ready to attack. She moved her palm and without any hesitation, water attribute energy began to condense on the magic staff. Rumble. The entire 7th floor let out a rumbling sound. Don't disturb my cultivation. Seeing the 3 of them getting ready to fight, Wang Xian opened his eyes and reminded them plainly. Which sacred land are you from? Tell us. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. Righteous Sky's Saint stared at Wang Xian with squinted eyes and questioned him. When Wang Xian stepped into the 7th level, the group of saints and saintesses were shocked beyond words. Soon after, the experts from the sacred lands and forbidden lands immediately conducted an investigation. Although they didn't find out which force Wang Xian was from, the sacred lands had investigated his strength very clearly. He had the strength of a rank 6 universe venerable with space attribute. Such strength was indeed frightening. However, they weren't afraid at all. They were the saints of the sacred lands and forbidden lands. Although the space attribute was powerful, it wasn't that easy to fight a saint of a higher level. With the help of the treasures in their hands, these saints and saintesses could already fight an ordinary universe venerable. After receiving this accurate information, they didn't take Wang Xian seriously. Now, the only thing they had to worry about was Wang Xian's background. Whether there were super sacred lands or forbidden lands behind him. So what if I'm rude? Wang Xian looked at him and asked calmly. Now that Wang Xian's void divine dragon body had broken through to rank 8 universe venerable, it would be a piece of cake to eliminate these 2 saints. You want to interfere in the affairs of our sacred lands? Seeing Wang Xian's calm expression, Qingyi's Saint narrowed his eyes and sized him up carefully. He was a little surprised and asked, just don't disturb my cultivation. Wang Xian replied plainly, don't challenge my patience. After that, he shut his eyes. Don't challenge my patience. When Righteous Sky's Saint and Qingyi's Saint heard Wang Xian, their faces darkened. They looked at Wang Xian, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, and couldn't see through him. Qingyi's Saint moved his palm, and a magic array board appeared in his hand. He injected energy into it. When he saw the information on the magic array board, his expression changed. Chapter 3949, In the Sword and Magic Continent, Supreme Geniuses dominated the saints and saintesses. Those who could become saints and saintesses were the most elite generation nurtured by their respective sacred grounds. In terms of temperament, strength, and talent, they were the cream of the crop. None of them thought highly of themselves. None of them were arrogant and looked down on others. Seeing Wang Xian sitting there calmly, Qingyi Saint took out his scouting-type magical array disc to investigate. Wang Xian did not deliberately conceal his strength. His cultivation of the 8th Order Universe Venerable Realm was quickly discovered. Qingyi Saint's expression changed drastically as he looked at Wang Xian with a solemn expression. A rank 8 Universe Space Swordsman was not someone they could contend with. Their strength was still very, very far from it. I didn't expect this brother to have the strength of a rank 8 Universe Venerable. Qingyi Saint cupped his fist at Wang Xian and said, I wonder if this brother can tell me which force you are from. I'm Qingyi from the Verdant Sect. I have no intention of offending you. Beside him, Righteous Sky Saint narrowed his eyes when he heard Qingyi Saint. Rank 8 Universe Venerable? According to the investigation of our sacred grounds, he's only a rank 6 universe venerable. His expression changed as he transmitted a message to Qingyi Saint. He must have hidden his strength in the past. According to my investigation, he's definitely a rank 8 universe venerable. Coupled with his space attribute, this mysterious young man is very strong. Qingyi Saint replied immediately with a tinge of seriousness and vigilance in his eyes. If Wang Xian wanted to attack them, they would not do anything. The other party could easily occupy the entire 7th level. Unless there was a rank 9 universe venerable or a pinnacle saint. I'll say it one last time. No sect. Wang Xian said to them. No sect. Qingyi Saint and Righteous Skies Saint frowned slightly and looked surprised. That's possible. If he's from a sacred ground, we can't stay here anymore. Righteous Sky Saint pondered for a moment before transmitting a message to Qingyi Saint. Qingyi Saint nodded. All of them had entered this place with a mission to control the holy moon. If he really was a saint of a sacred ground or forbidden land, he could easily drive them out or even kill them. However, he did not do so. Their gazes swept over Long Yinyan, and they slowly sat down. Although they did not manage to kill Long Yinyan or drive him out, they managed to obtain some information about Wang Xian. They immediately sent a message to the experts of the Holy Lands. Thank you for helping me again. Long Yinyan thanked Wang Xian. Wang Xian sat there without responding. Seeing this, Long Yinyan helplessly continued to cultivate. Time flew by, and soon, more than 200,000 years had passed. Wang Xian felt that he could easily step into the 9th Order Universe Venerable Realm. He opened his eyes and looked around. There were a lot more people on the 7th floor, from the original 3 to 8. Beside Long Yinyan was a young man who looked similar to her. The two of them sat cross-legged on a magic stone that separated them. Wang Xian opened his eyes and looked around. The 7 of them sensed it and opened their eyes to look at Wang Xian. Among this group of people, there were 8th Order Universe Venerables, and even 2 9th Order Universe Venerables. Wang Xian was not interested. With a thought, he gradually disappeared. His starting the challenge again. When the 8 saints and saintesses saw Wang Xian vanish and the sorcerer's stone radiating light, they were shocked. This meant that he was going to challenge again. Is he really without a sect or clan? A saintess couldn't help but frown and ask. If he really is without a sect or clan, then he must have obtained a powerful inheritance of the sword bowl. Otherwise, he would never have reached this stage. One of the saints said. This is highly possible. He must have obtained the inheritance of some expert. The other holy sons and holy daughters nodded. Long Yinin's eyes flickered as she watched Wang Xian continue to challenge. There are only 3 9th Order Universe Venerables, not 4. That's one less than I expected. At the same time, Wang Xian appeared in the challenge space. When he saw the 3 9th Order Universe Venerables, a smile appeared on his face. If he had known there were only 3, he would have challenged them long ago. With his current strength, challenging the top 3 was not a problem. Now that he was one step away from entering the 9th Order Universe Venerables, it was even less of a problem. There wasn't much suspense in the following battles. However, facing the 3 9th Order Universe Venerables, Wang Xian still battled for 3 hours. 3 hours later, Wang Xian stepped into the 8th level with ease. At the same time, at the 7th level, the 8 saints on the 8th level had been paying attention to Wang Xian's situation since Wang Xian began his challenge. When they saw the light on the sorcerer's stone, all the saints and saintesses were shocked. He actually made it through and succeeded in the challenge. How long has it been? He succeeded in just 3 hours. How is this possible? When I came to the 7th level, I had to fight for 100 years. He succeeded in 3 hours. What kind of trump card does that mysterious guy have? To enter the 8th level, he has to challenge 3 existences that are 1 level higher than him. The 8 holy sons and holy virgins discussed in shock. So strong. Long Yinyan was also slightly shocked. Before entering a new level, there will always be some treasures on that level. Once he enters, the treasures will belong to him directly. In this way, his strength may get stronger and stronger. The young man standing beside Long Yinyan said, looking at her. Sister, you said that he saved you. The next time you step into the 8th level and meet him, you can try to invite him to our roaring dragon forbidden ground. Who knows, he might agree. It's difficult to enter the 8th level. This time, I might not be able to enter quickly. Long Yinyin shook her head and said, Sister, in terms of battle experience, you are the strongest among us. I believe you will be the first to enter the 8th level again. The young man said with a smile. Long Yinyin nodded, her eyes shining. There are a lot more treasures this time. When Wang Xian came to the 8th level, his eyes fell on the position in front. Looking at the treasures on it, a smile appeared on his face. Chapter 3950. There were more treasures on the 8th level than on the 7th level. Elixir pills of the metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, darkness, and space attributes. Each elixir pill was at the level of a universe lord. In addition, there were 3 books that contained powerful energy. This book was a treasure that was comparable to an innate treasure. They were water, wind, and space attributes. Wang Xian opened the space attribute book. On the book, there were drawings of sharp swords. Enchantment Space Book. This was the name of the book. It was an auxiliary innate treasure. But this auxiliary was extremely powerful. It could enchant swords to increase their destructive power. This was a huge improvement. To Wang Xian, it was just right for him to use. Other than these treasures, there were also some other cultivation elixir pills. Wang Xian kept all of them and continued to cultivate. Given his current strength, defeating 3 people who were of a higher level than him was already his limit. If it was 4, it would be more troublesome for Wang Xian. It was hard to say if he could win. Therefore, Wang Xian did not intend to challenge them immediately. Instead, he prepared to break through. He would cultivate to the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm on the 8th level before challenging them. From the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm to the pinnacle of the universe lord realm. This was a huge shackle. Once he reached the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm, he might have to challenge the universe lords. However, Wang Xian could continue to accumulate strength in the universe supremacy realm. Just like Wu Shuo and the rest of the crazy demons. By accumulating strength and not breaking through, he would have the strength to kill a first-order universe lord realm expert at the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm. As long as Wang Xian could accumulate his strength to this level, he could easily kill 5 to 6 first-order universe sovereigns, or even more. This was Wang Xian's plan. By then, he would be able to control this treasure land. The sacred moon of the Void Moon, which was once a forbidden land, was also a very powerful treasure ground for Wang Xian. This was also the only treasure that Wang Xian had his eyes on. Obtaining it would be a base of operations. Wang Xian pondered as he sat cross-legged and began cultivating. Time passed quickly again. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000,000 years had passed. But this time, Wang Xian returned to the Dragon Palace and spent some time with Guan Shuqing and the other girls. Wang. He continued to cultivate. One day, a fluctuation came from the side. Wang Xian opened his eyes and looked over. However, when he saw the figure that appeared there, he was slightly taken aback, and a startled look appeared on his face. It was that saintess of the Dragon's Cry Forbidden Land called Long Yinyin again. Just like the last time, Long Yinyin was lying on the magic stone in a miserable state. His clothes were torn, and he was in an even worse state than the last time. Moreover, the injuries on her body were even more miserable than the last time. Now, he was breathing in more than he was breathing, and he looked like he was on the verge of death. Based on Wang Xian's prediction, he only had a few more hours to live before he lost all signs of life. Wang Xian looked at her and felt slightly speechless. Every time he came in, he almost lost his life. Saving him once is saving him twice is also saving him. Wang Xian shook his head. With a wave of his arm, a stream of energy surged into Long Yinin's body, rapidly restoring her vitality. Long Yinyin groaned and slowly opened his eyes. His gaze landed on Wang Xian. Immediately after, she sensed something and hurriedly pulled on her clothes. Looking at the condition of her body, her face flushed red. "Thank you. You saved me again." Long Yinyin quickly thanked him in a low voice. She used her energy to create clothes to cover her body. You're welcome. You're pretty good. You only managed to reach the next level when you were on the brink of death. Wang Xian said to her with a teasing tone. I can't help it. I have an attack that requires me to abandon all my defenses. Moreover, it will consume some vitality. Therefore, I'm in such a miserable state every time. Long Yinyin said to Wang Xian with a bitter face. It was extremely difficult to reach the 8th level. She had basically paid the price of her life to reach the 8th level. If Wang Xian hadn't saved her again, she would have died immediately. In your current state, you won't be able to reach the 12th level. Wang Xian looked at her and shook his head. I can't help it. The sacred moon is an extremely powerful treasure to any sacred ground or forbidden area. As long as there's a glimmer of hope, I can't give up. Long Yinyin shook his head, then looked at Wang Xian. However, I feel that if there's anyone who can step into the 12th level, it's probably you. When you ascended to the 8th level, it was simply too easy. Do you really not have any backing? Then, do you have any thoughts of joining a force? What about our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Area? Don't worry. As long as you're willing to join, the position of Son of Roaring Dragon Forbidden Area will be yours. Moreover, we can provide you with the cultivation resources and treasures you need. We will definitely nurture you as a core disciple. As she spoke, she looked at Wang Xian with anticipation. Upon hearing her words, Wang Xian was speechless. Wang Xian didn't really mind joining a forbidden area. However, if he wanted to join now, he would need sufficient cultivation resources. Moreover, these cultivation resources had better not be ordinary ones. He could get his hands on ordinary cultivation resources. There was no need for him to join a forbidden area. I'm not lacking in cultivation resources. Wang Xian shook his head and rejected with a smile. Don't reject me yet. If our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Area can provide you with treasures that satisfy you, how about you join us? Long Yinyin looked at him with anticipation. She still had a very good impression of Wang Xian. Disregarding his powerful talents, just the fact that he had saved her life twice was enough to make her extremely grateful. If Wang Xian could join their Roaring Dragon Holy Land, she would be able to repay him well. Oh! Wang Xian smiled and raised his eyebrows. That's fine, but the treasure must be useful to me. If you join our Roaring Dragon Holy Land, I can promise you one thing. That is, when I cast my Forbidden Curse technique, it can explode with terrifying destructive power. If you don't join our forbidden area, our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Area isn't prepared to spread it. Long Yinyin continued, however, regardless of whether you join or not, I will repay you for saving me twice. I will ask my family for a treasure that is useful to you. The Forbidden Curse technique that you cast. It can also be used with the space attribute. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and asked. Yes, it can. There are no restrictions on the attribute. You should know that this technique of our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Area can be ranked in the top 10 among the Sword and Magic Continent's Forbidden Curse techniques. Long Yinyin said with slight pride. Chapter 3951. Oh? Is it that powerful? Wang Xian's eyes lit up when he heard this. If there was such a forbidden curse art, it would be of great use to the Dragon Palace. This was especially true for the mystical dragons of the Dragon Palace. Currently, every member of the Dragon Clan had a black flower of the other shore. The black flower of the other shore had an ability, Parameter Samsara. After using the forbidden curse art, one could use Parameter Samsara to return one's body to the past. In other words, Parameter Samsara could eliminate the injuries sustained during the forbidden curse art. This would greatly enhance the strength of the phantom dragons. Of course, but this forbidden curse art cannot be used recklessly. After using it once, it can only be used again after hundreds of thousands of years. Long Yinyin said. Wang Xian nodded, not minding this. With Parameter Samsara, this side effect could be eliminated in an instant. I'll ask the seniors of the Dragon Clan again to see what treasures they can give you. Long Yinyin saw that Wang Xian did not refuse and was even interested. Wang Xian nodded with a smile and sat cross-legged to the side. At the same time, Long Yinyan immediately contacted her parents and grandfather. Long Yinyan and her brother were able to become the saint son and saint daughter of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground for 2 reasons. Another reason was that their great-grandfather was the founder of the Dragon Clan. Now, their great-grandfather was no longer the master of the Forbidden Ground, but the one who took over the position was a disciple of their great-grandfather. In the Dragon Clan, their great-grandfather was still the #1 expert. One could imagine the status of the Long family in the Dragon Clan. And her father, who was also her grandfather, was also in the ruler realm, the top expert in the Forbidden Ground. After Long Yinyan passed the news, it immediately attracted the attention of the Dragon Clan. Now, the news of Wang Xian had spread to all the sacred grounds and forbidden grounds around the moon void. The sacred grounds and forbidden grounds were also shocked by the sudden appearance of this demon-like youth. There were also some forbidden grounds and sacred grounds that were prepared to recruit Wang Xian. In particular, Wang Xian was the most promising one to reach the top of the moon pagoda and control the sacred moon. Seeing that their saintess had been saved twice by the mysterious youth and that their relationship was not bad, the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground naturally could not be stingy when inviting him to join their forbidden ground. It didn't take long for Long Yinyan to receive a list of treasures. When she saw it, her eyes flickered. What's your name? We, the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land, have taken out some treasures. You can choose any 3 of them. What do you think? Long Yinyan looked at Wang Xian and greeted. Just call me Wang Xian. What items do you have? Let me see. Wang Xian nodded his head and asked with interest. If there were items that he was satisfied with, Wang Xian would really consider joining them. However, even if he were to join, Wang Xian would make his own requests. Here, I'll use my energy to condense words for you. Let me introduce them to you. Long Yinyan waved his arm and the names of the items appeared in front of Wang Xian. There were a total of more than 20 items. Moreover, all of them had spatial attributes or were treasures that were useful. The first item, Heavenly Human Fruit. This fruit is a life-saving fruit. It's equivalent to a life. As long as you place the Heavenly Human Fruit in a safe place, even if you die, you can be revived immediately. How about it? Is this valuable enough? Long Yinyan introduced the first item and smiled at him. Continue. Wang Xian nodded his head. He had no interest in the Heavenly Human Fruit. The second item, an inborn cardinal treasure weapon with spatial attributes. Long Yinyan continued. Remove the weapon. I don't need elixir pills either. Are there any special items? I want special ones. Wang Xian interrupted her and asked. This? Special? What my grandfather prepared for you is something that you can use. If it's special, there's nothing special about it. Does cultivating in the core treasure land of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground count? Long Yinyan opened her mouth and asked. Wang Xian shook his head. I don't need weapons and resources for cultivation. I'll only agree if there are special items that I need. Alright then, I'll continue asking for you. Long Yinyan nodded her head and continued to send messages to her grandfather. Do you have any items that you need? We'll try our best to satisfy you. Long Yinyan lifted her head and asked Wang Xian. Items that I need? What's the realm of the strongest expert in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground? Wang Xian asked. The strongest expert is naturally my grandfather, the founder of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. He reached the 9th Order Universe Sovereign Realm 10 billion years ago. I don't know if he has broken through now. Long Yinyan answered proudly. Forget it then. Just take out the special treasures and let me have a look. Wang Xian shook his head. The strength of a 9th Order Universe Sovereign was not even on par with him. If the Roaring Dragon Holy Ground was really strong and had many pinnacle universe sovereigns, Wang Xian could ask for a large amount of resources. He could use these resources to enhance his own strength. However, the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground could not afford so many resources for a 9th Order Universe Sovereign. Long Yinyan pouted speechlessly. She looked at him and said, Alright then, let me see what special treasures my grandfather has. After she finished speaking, she waited quietly for her grandfather's reply. Benefactor Wang Xian, My grandfather sent me 5 special items. Let me tell you about them. After a few hours, Long Yinyin spoke to Wang Xian. Tell me. Wang Xian opened his eyes and said to her. The first item is broken wood. Legend has it that broken wood is a small fragment of the spatial bridge. The spatial bridge is a very powerful spatial treasure that ordinary inborn cardinal treasures can't compare to. In short, it's very, very powerful. However, it's useless now. Long Yinyin introduced the first item and stole a glance at Wang Xian. The second item is a corpse, a strange soul corpse. My grandfather said it's the body of an extraordinary human from another universe. The third item is a jar. The space is huge, almost infinite. However, it can't contain living things. The fourth item is a treasure from another universe. It's a very special treasure, but its specific abilities are unknown. The fifth item is the breath soil of the universe, which is the breath soil of our universe. This breath soil can be molded into a human and given life. In other words, it can be used to create humans. I think it's very practical and can be used to groom one's subordinates. The humans molded by the breath soil are as malleable as normal humans. Their talents are also different. Another special feature is that the breath soil is very beneficial to cultivators with wood attributes. Long Yinyin introduced the items one by one. Chapter 3952, A piece of broken wood. A corpse. A spatial container. A treasure from another universe. The breath soil of this universe. Breath soil of the universe. What does it mean to make wood-type mags closer to the universe? Wang Xian narrowed his eyes as he listened to Long Yinin's introduction of the treasures. He asked as his attention fell on the last treasure. It means to better sense the energy in our universe. But it's only more effective for wood-type mags. Long Yinyin said. You mean to say that as long as I integrate the breath soil of the universe into my body, I'll be closer to the universe of swords and magic? Wang Xian stared at him, his eyes shining. That's what I mean. Long Yinyin nodded. How much breath soil of the universe do you have? Wang Xian asked again. Should be quite a lot. The most special thing about this breath soil of the universe is that it's special. It doesn't have any other abilities. Long Yinyin said. What's the level of the corpse? Wang Xian asked again. I don't know the rank of this corpse, but I heard from my grandfather that even a corpse would give him a huge pressure. My grandfather is an 8th order universe sovereign realm expert. This corpse is definitely stronger than an 8th order universe sovereign realm expert when it was alive. Long Yinyin said. Is there a lot of breath soil of the universe on the continent? Wang Xian continued asking. Not much. There's very little breath soil of the universe. As far as I know, only the strongest 1 or 2 forbidden grounds have it. Only our dragon roar forbidden ground has it. Long Yinyin answered truthfully. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked at Long Yinyin. I can join the dragon roar forbidden ground, but I want a lot of breath soil of the universe, as well as that corpse. I'll decide after I see the last treasure. Really? You're willing to join our dragon roar forbidden ground? Long Yinyin asked with surprise. Wang Xian nodded. I can join, but I have a condition. When the calamity comes, I'll leave the dragon roar forbidden ground. When the calamity comes, you'll leave the dragon roar forbidden ground. Long Yinyin was slightly taken aback when he heard Wang Xian's condition. His face was filled with astonishment. He did not expect Wang Xian to make such a request. Yes. Wang Xian nodded his head. I'll leave after the cataclysm arrives. However, I won't say that I'm just going to occupy the resources of Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land without making any contributions. I have all the top-notch spells and sword techniques in the Lunar Void Forbidden Land. I also have the magical legacy of a level 7 universe lord with water attributes. I can give them to Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land as contributions. Really? When Long Yinyin heard these words, his eyes lit up again. She knew about the cataclysm. After the cataclysm arrived, they would leave immediately. This was something that would happen billions of years later. The cataclysm was a crisis for the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land and the entire universe. The Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land naturally did not want the experts they had nurtured to leave before the cataclysm. However, compared to this requirement, compared to being able to obtain all the spells and sword technique manuals of the Forbidden Moon of the Void, compared to the inheritance of a Seventh-Order Universe Sovereign, what did it count for? In fact, the inheritance of a Seventh-Order Universe Sovereign Realm expert was enough to trade for her 3 items. The preciousness of a magic mantle was something that could not be obtained without a great opportunity. Even she did not receive the mantle of magic. In addition, there was the cultivation method of the Void Moon in the Forbidden Land. That made it even more precious. The strength of the Void Moon in the Forbidden Land was only slightly weaker than that of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land. Their secret manuals were also treasures that could protect the sect in the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land. Benefactor Wang Xian, you have to know that you are at a disadvantage. The things you are offering are too precious. Long Yinyan was excited for a few seconds. After hesitating for a moment, he reminded Wang Xian. It's all right. I naturally understand the value. Wang Xian smiled. Initially, he had joined the Roaring Dragon Holy Land mainly for the breath soil of the universe. Just as Long Yinyan had said, the breath soil of the universe could allow living beings to be closer to the universe. It could even create humans. In that case, what would happen if the disciples of the Dragon Palace absorbed enough breath soil of the universe? Would it allow the experts and disciples of the Dragon Palace to ignore the rejection of the sword and sorcery universe? If it was possible, it would definitely be a great benefit for the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian could allow the experts and disciples of the Dragon Palace to come here to cultivate and search for opportunities. At the very least, it could allow a portion of the experts and disciples of the Dragon Palace to cultivate in the Pagoda of the Moon. As for the Pagoda of the Moon, Wang Xian still had the confidence to control it. At that time, the Dragon Palace would also have a treasure land for cultivation. In addition, by joining the Forbidden Land, Wang Xian could also quickly integrate into the top level of the sword and sorcery universe and understand everything in this universe. Although he had the Soul Devourer ability, with his current strength, he could only reach the level of an 8th Order Sovereign in the Soul Devourer universe. After all, his current strength was mostly due to the Heaven Yuan creation fragment. Anyway, joining the Forbidden Land wouldn't interfere with his cultivation. That's great. I'll tell my grandfather now that you have joined the Forbidden Land. In the future, you will be a saint and my brother can play by the side. In addition, we will provide you with any cultivation resources you want. Long Yinyan said happily. Wang Xian smiled and looked at her. He waved his hand and said, "Go back first and get those special treasures. In addition, this is a water attribute magical mantle. I'll give it to you first. Why don't you go back with me? There are elders of the Forbidden Land outside the Pagoda of the Moon. Also, we can make a trip back to the Forbidden Land to get that treasure. At that time, I'll get my grandfather to give you more treasures." Long Yinin's eyes sparkled as she said to Wang Xian, "Go back." Sure. Wang Xian nodded and didn't reject. His current strength had reached the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm. What he needed to do now was to accumulate his strength. Just like Wu Shuo and the rest in the past, only accumulating and not improving. At that time, he should be able to step into the top level of the Pagoda of the Moon and control it. However, to continue to the level of Wu Shuo and the rest, he would need a lot of time. About 1 or 2 million years. Therefore, Wang Xian wasn't in a hurry to wait for a day or two, or even a year or 10 years. All right, let's go. Long Yinyan said happily as she gestured to Wang Xian. Both of them moved and instantly disappeared from the 8th level. In the next moment, they appeared outside the Pagoda of the Moon. "Follow me," Long Yinyan said happily as she led Wang Xian out. Wang Xian smiled and followed closely behind. The two of them flew out of the sacred moon. Wang, Sainters. The moment they flew out, many experts from the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land were already waiting at the entrance. Chapter 3953. Just as Wang Xian and the rest exited the sacred moon, dozens of experts welcomed them at the entrance. Universe ruler powerhouses bowed to Long Yinyan. Among these experts, the strongest was at the 4th Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Evidently, Long Yinin's position in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land was very high. Alright, let's go back to the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land first. Long Yinyin faced the experts in the forbidden area and nodded lightly, full of the aura of a saintess. Cold, proud, extraordinary temperament. It's the saintess. The group of experts from the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground nodded and immediately brought them to the side. Sister, wait for me, wait for me. At this moment, a voice came from behind. Wang Xian looked over and saw a young man who looked similar to Long Yinyin flying towards him. This was not the first time Wang Xian had met him. At the 7th level, Wang Xian had met Long Yinin's younger brother. As for what it was called, he did not know. Sister, wait for me, let's go back together. The young man flew over with a cheeky smile on his face. When he looked at Wang Xian, his eyes lit up. Your big brother Wang Xian, right? Nice to meet you. You're really awesome. I'm impressed. He's my younger brother, Long Yinhao. He's very mischievous. Long Yinyin introduced. Hello. Wang Xian nodded his head. Let's go back home first. As Long Yinyin spoke, the surrounding experts quickly led them away. Flying to the side, there was a temporary base in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. There was a teleportation array there. After passing through the teleportation formation and going through 5 transfers, they arrived at the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land's lair. Hey! The Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground is on an island. When Wang Xian took note of his surroundings, he realized he was already on an island. All around them was the ocean. They were now on an island. And in front of this pirate was a strange island. On that island, there was an incomparably huge mountain. The mountain peak pierced through the clouds, reaching an extremely terrifying height. Furthermore, there was an incomparably enormous waterfall flowing down from above. It was a very spectacular place of wonder. The waterfall fell from the sky with an incomparably loud roar. However, this rumble was completely different from a dragon's roar. As for whether there were dragons in the sword and magic universe, Wang Xian knew from the information he obtained that there weren't any. Yeah, doesn't brother Wang Xian know that our Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground is in the Sky Sea? That's the sky peak of our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land. Isn't it spectacular? We live and train there, said Long Yinhao. Come on, let's fly over. Long Yinyin said to Wang Xian as he gestured to the elders around him. The group of powerhouses and elders nodded, but they did not follow. Long Yinyin brought Wang Xian and flew towards the sky peak of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Area. The sky peak of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land was indeed quite spectacular. Compared to the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land, Mingyi Sacred Institute was like a weak ant. In this cosmos, the disparity between sacred grounds was extremely great. Wang Xian flew to the front of the sky peak and immediately sensed a majestic water energy. At the same time, he sensed that he had entered a special space. The defense around Heavenly Peak isn't bad. Wang Xian sensed the surroundings and thought to himself. At the very least, this defense could block existences in the 9th Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Come here. The sky peak is very high and huge. Let's head up. Long Yinyin continued to speak to Wang Xian as they flew towards the top of the sky peak. The sky peak was indeed very high. They only arrived at the top after a few minutes. Yinhao. A few 100 kilometers below the top of the sky peak. When they flew over, a voice was heard. Wang Xian looked over and saw 5 to 6 elders and over a dozen middle-aged men standing at the edge in front of them. All of their gazes fell on Wang Xian. Wang Xian could sense that streams of energy were sensing him. However, these energies did not have any malicious intent. Grandpa, elders, deacons, dad, mom. Long Yinyin and Long Yinhao shouted immediately. Good. Not bad. This is young Master Wang Xian. The elder in the middle smiled and nodded at the two of them. After which, his gaze fell on Wang Xian. Thank you, young Master Wang Xian. You have saved my granddaughter's life twice. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Land is extremely grateful. Senior, it's just a simple matter for me. Wang Xian cupped his hands politely. With the strength of his current body, there was nothing wrong with addressing him as senior. Moreover, Long Yinin's grandfather was definitely much older than Wang Xian. They were all people who had lived for at least 10 billion years. Saving your life isn't a small matter. Moreover, you are able to suppress the other saints and saintesses. Your talent and potential are limitless. Come, take a seat inside. Long Yinin's grandfather smiled and gestured with his hand. Wang Xian nodded his head and flew inside. The location inside was not a luxurious palace. Instead, it was a cave surrounded by plants. Water flowed through it, and it was exceptionally beautiful. Wang Xian, the one in the middle is my grandfather. These two are my parents. The rest are my second and third grandfathers. They are also the elders and deacons of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land. Long Yinyin came to Wang Xian's side and introduced him softly. Wang Xian nodded. Take a seat. Young master, your name is Wang Xian, right? I'll call you Xiao Xian. You are extremely talented. If the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land can have such a talented person join us, it will be our luck. When they came inside, the group sat down. Long Yinin's grandfather said to Wang Xian with a smile. I heard that you like some special treasures. They are all in here. As he spoke, he tossed a space ring to Wang Xian. Thank you, elder. Wang Xian took it and greeted him as elder. We will be on the same side in the future. Yinyin has also mentioned your condition. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Land will naturally agree to it. Of course, we have benefited from you joining the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land this time. Long Yinin's grandfather laughed and said, joining the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land will be beneficial to my cultivation. Wang Xian replied politely. He sensed the space ring and realized that there were more than 3 treasures in it. The 5 items that Long Yinyin had mentioned were all inside. In particular, there was indeed a lot of the universe breath soil that he was most concerned about. The energy of the universe breath soil also excited him. The universe breath soil contained a large amount of sword and magic aura from the universe. Perhaps the living beings in this universe could not sense it, but Wang Xian could. It should not be a problem for the disciples and experts of the Dragon Palace to use it to resist the rejection of this universe. Chapter 3954, Xiao Xian, with your strength, you can definitely have the status and strength of a saint in our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. We will prepare a saint inauguration ceremony for you soon. Long Yinin's grandfather, who was also the 3rd elder of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground, said with a smile as Wang Xian checked the treasures in the space ring. There's no need. Long Yinhao should be the saint. Wang Xian was taken aback, but he shook his head with a smile. In the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land, whoever has better talent and is stronger will be the son of the younger generation. Your talent and strength far surpass Yinhao's, so the position of the son of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land is well deserved. As the son of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land, you will naturally have a lot of rights and enjoy a lot more things. In the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground, the position of the saint is above the deacon and below the elder. Wang Xian was deep in thought when he heard the 3rd elder's words. Cough cough, Grandpa, I think we can have 2 saints in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground, right? Big brother Wang Xian is the eldest, and I can be second. At the side, Long Yinhao coughed and said. That's not impossible. There are also sacred grounds and forbidden grounds that only have 1 saint. An elder smiled and said, isn't there 2 saints and saintesses in the twin sacred grounds? Although it has something to do with the characteristics of their sacred grounds, with Yinhao's strength, he can be a saint. That's fine, but we have to discuss this with the Lord of the Forbidden Ground. The 3rd elder nodded and looked at Wang Xian. Xiao Xian, you don't have to reject. All right. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before nodding. Since this was the body of a void divine dragon, he could be the saint of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. All right. We'll hold a saint inauguration soon. The 3rd elder smiled and nodded. In addition, I'll have to trouble old 6 to bring Xiao Xian to the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground to have a look. Fortunately, it's the place where the saint lives. All right, 3rd brother. The 6th elder nodded his head, stood up, and gestured to Wang Xian. Let's go, Xiao Xian. I'll bring you around the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land. We'll come back for some food and enjoy some delicacies. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. He followed the sixth elder to familiarize himself with the dragon raw forbidden land. Sister, tell me the truth. Are you in a relationship with brother Wang Xian? Will he be my brother-in-law in the future? Wang Xian and the rest left. Long Yinhao couldn't help but look towards Long Yinyin and ask, "What nonsense are you talking about?" His words caused Long Yinin's face to redden, and he glared at him. If the two of you didn't fall in love, how could there be such a good thing in the world? He gave you a seventh-order universe sovereign's water-attributed legacy, and it just so happened to be water-attributed. Also, there are the secret manuals in the Moon of the Void. The value of these things is not comparable to the position of a saint or some special items. Moreover, he saved you twice. I think that brother Wang Xian is definitely interested in you. I think he's not bad. Sister, you can consider him. That's not right. Perhaps you and Wang Xian. Cough, cough. After all, the two of you spent a long time alone on the 7th level. Long Yinhao guessed as if he already knew the truth. This made Long Yinin's face turn darker and darker. She stared at him, and the magic staff in her hand shone brightly. Hee, all right, Yin. We won't get involved in your matters. You can choose for yourself. Long Yinin's mother chuckled and said from the side, Mom, there's really nothing going on between me and Wang Xian. When I first invited him, he rejected me. Long Yinyin explained to her mother. All right, no matter what happens, we won't interfere with your matters. Have the secret manuals in the Moon of the Void been given to you? Long Yinin's mother smiled and asked. Yes. Long Yinyin nodded her head. With a wave of her arm, books flew towards her grandfather. Several elders of the Dragon Raw Forbidden Land waved their arms and took a few secret manuals with higher energy. They immediately flipped through the contents inside. These are indeed the secret manuals of the Moon of the Void. They are complete secret manuals. These secret manuals will be of great benefit to our Dragon Raw Forbidden Land. An elder exclaimed excitedly as he read the contents inside. They are indeed real. These should be the top-notch cultivation secret manuals of the Moon of the Void. These secret manuals and sword techniques are incomparably precious. If we have another treasure land, we can build another powerful forbidden land. The third elder was also excited as he read. The value of these things was immeasurable to their forbidden land. He even felt that it would be great if he could exchange the special treasures he had given Wang Xian for one of these top-notch manuals. According to the records of the Forbidden Land, the Void Moon, all of their secret manuals are placed in the 10,000 Laws Chamber behind the Moon Tower. It seems that he entered the 10,000 Laws Chamber. It's not that the 10,000 Laws Chamber is enveloped by a powerful array. Isn't the Dharma repository shrouded by a powerful array? One of the elders asked in surprise. That Wang Xian is not simple. He must have some secrets on him. He appeared out of nowhere, and we can't find any information on him. An attendant spoke up and thought for a moment. Elder, should we be on our guard? No need. No force would be willing to take out such precious treasures just to enter our Dragon Raw Forbidden Land. The third elder shook his head immediately. The treasures that Wang Xian had taken out were too precious. To enter their Dragon Raw Forbidden Land, they had expended so much. No other holy land would be so generous. If they were so generous, it would be very easy to destroy the Dragon Raw Forbidden Land. That's true. Maybe he really has his eyes on it. An elder at the side nodded in agreement. He looked at Long Yinyin leisurely with a smile of a mischievous old man. This made Long Yinin's face even redder. She looked helpless. But when she thought of how Wang Xian had saved her twice, her heart began to beat faster. She was the saint of the Dragon Raw Forbidden Land, and her brother was also the saint of the Dragon Raw Forbidden Land. In the entire Dragon Raw Forbidden Land, no one was more outstanding than the siblings. As a result, she did not have any special feelings for other members of the opposite sex. This was because she was outstanding, and so was her brother. Moreover, even if it was the saints of other holy lands, she would not take a fancy to them easily. But Wang Xian had saved her life twice. His talent and strength were stronger than hers, and it gave her a strange feeling. Wang Xian. Could it be like what grandfather and brother said, that he has taken a fancy to me? Otherwise. She was a little confused, and her imagination ran wild. Chapter 3955. Long Yinyin was a little confused. This was the first time in her hundreds of millions of years of cultivation. Yes, Long Yinyin had lived for hundreds of millions of years. However, he spent most of his time cultivating in seclusion. A simple session of seclusion could last millions of years, and the longest one could last tens of millions of years. For experts like them, hundreds of millions of years was equivalent to a dozen years for mortals. The only calamity they faced was the cataclysm. If they could survive the cataclysm, the lifespan of experts like them would be more than 30 billion years. Judging from such a lifespan, she was still young. Very young. Her mind was running wild. She couldn't stop her thoughts. Otherwise, how could these priceless treasures and cultivation methods be explained? Wang Xian followed the sixth elder around the dragon roar forbidden land. The two returned. The third elder and the rest had prepared a sumptuous meal. These dishes were not only delicious, but also contained powerful energy. This was the first time Wang Xian had tasted the delicacies of the sword and sorcery universe. It was indeed unique. However, what surprised him was that Long Yinyin would look over at him from time to time. She looked at him with a hint of shyness and curiosity in her eyes. This made him feel that something was wrong. Set a time to hold my saint's grand ceremony. The third elder looked at the surrounding elders and said after the group enjoyed the food. Let Xiao Xian decide the time. An elder pondered for a moment and said, That's true. The third elder nodded his head and looked at Wang Xian. Xiao Xian, take a look at the time and decide on an auspicious day to hold your saint's ceremony. This is a huge event for the roaring dragon forbidden ground. This. Third elder, there's no hurry. How about 10,000 years later? Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before replying. He wanted to wait for Enlai to come again. At that time, he could give it a try. If the disciples of the Dragon Palace could come to this universe, it would be of great benefit to the development of the Dragon Palace. Now, the disciples of the Dragon Palace in the Nine Origins universe no longer dared to move around there. If they had a base in the sword and sorcery universe, it would be of great benefit to the Dragon Palace. The forbidden land of the Void Moon happened to be a good treasure ground. It could be used as a nest for the disciples of Dragon Palace to cultivate. 10,000 years. No problem. The third elder nodded. 10,000 years was only the time it took for a simple closed-door cultivation. In the following days, Yin Yin, Yin Hao, and Xiao Xian, the three of you will continue to cultivate at Shungyu's place. Before that, Yin Yin, you will bring Xiao Xian to our Dragon Roar Forbidden Grounds 10,000 Laws Pavilion. Xiao Xian can choose from the space attribute sword techniques and secret manuals there. If it's spatial carnate cardinal treasures, our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground also has them. You can choose any two of them from there. As for cultivation resources, we'll distribute them according to the saint's standard. Sixth Elder said to Longyin King Immortal and the rest. With a wave of his arm, a token flew into Long Yinin's hand. Its sixth grandfather. Long Yinyin took the token and nodded. All right, you three little fellows should communicate and get familiar with each other. The third elder smiled and waved his hand. Let's go, Wang Xian. I'll bring you to the 10,000 Laws Pavilion and Treasure Vault of our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Area to pick some sword techniques and weapons that you need. Long Yinyin said to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head and flew out with her. Seriously, she forgot about her younger brother so quickly. Long Yinhao was speechless when he saw his sister ignoring him. He moved and followed behind immediately. The 10,000 Laws Pavilion of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground was open to Wang Xian. There was only one top-notch space attribute sword technique. Wang Xian opened it and took a look. It would be of some use to him. In fact, Wang Xian had already memorized the secret manuals that he had obtained in the Moon of the Void. The top-notch secret manuals could not be copied. The concepts contained within could only be comprehended from the original secret manuals. However, Wang Xian's strength was too strong. Wang Xian could easily understand and master most of the spells, There were only a few top-notch spells that he had to ponder over. After fully comprehending them, Wang Xian could record these spells and sword techniques for the reference of the disciples of the Dragon Palace. In fact, these spells and sword techniques were only of reference value to the sorcerer dragon and the succubus dragon species. However, they were only for reference. After all, the nine-source universe also had its own cultivation system and unique characteristics. In terms of sword techniques, Roving Sword and the rest cultivated the top-notch Chenyuan sword technique of their universe. The sword techniques of the universe of swords and magic could only be used as a small reference. The gap between them and Chenyuan sword technique was still too huge. Wang Xian checked out the space sword techniques of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground and took 2 inborn cardinal treasures from the treasure vault. Such treatment was indeed top-notch in the entire Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground. Even the 5th or 6th order sovereigns of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground did not have such treatment. Wang Xian, let's return to the Sacred Moon to cultivate. Although there are treasured lands for cultivation in the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground, there are no treasured lands with space attributes. Moreover, the energy absorbed from treasured lands is reduced. It's best to cultivate in the Sacred Moon, Long Yinyin said to Wang Xian as they came out of the treasure vault. Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head. Subsequently, the 3 of them rushed towards the Moon of the Void. When they arrived at the 8th level of the Sacred Moon, Long Yinyin imparted to him the Forbidden Curse art. After fully mastering it, Wang Xian sat cross-legged on the magic stone and began his cultivation. This stunned Long Yinyin, who was beside him. What an idiot. All he knows is cultivation. She could not help but complain in her heart as she looked at Wang Xian helplessly. But soon, she sat cross-legged with a smile and began her cultivation. Time passed quickly while he was cultivating. The appointed time with Enlai arrived quickly. Wang Xian opened his eyes and looked around. On the 8th level, there were only him and Long Yinyin. Wang Xian waved his arm and shrouded himself with energy. Long Yinyin could only see that Wang Xian was still sitting cross-legged and cultivating. She could not see any other movements or changes. Wang Xian immediately set up a devil spirit altar in front of him. Wang, greetings, Dragon King. Before long, Enlai appeared and Wang Xian nodded at him. Is there any situation in the Dragon Palace? Wang Xian asked as usual. Dragon King, everything is fine in the Dragon Palace. Enlai answered. All right, I'm going to conduct an experiment. Bring Roving Sword over now. Wang Xian instructed Enlai. He wanted to see if the universe breath soil was effective. Chapter 3956, Wang. Within the Forbidden Land, Void Moon, Sacred Moon, Law Pavilion. Wang Xian, Enlai, and Roving Sword appeared. This was Wang Xian's real body. His void divine dragon body was still cultivating in the 8th level of the Moon Pagoda. Wang. Roving Sword's arrival immediately caused a wave of energy to press down on his body. His expression changed slightly. This was the pressure from the sword and magic universe. Roving Sword's current strength had reached the 3rd order Universe Lord realm. His realm wasn't very high, mainly because the Dragon Guards had just obtained the Chenyuan sword technique not long ago. To reach the 3rd order Universe Lord realm in a few million years was already very terrifying. Of course, this was also due to the Heart of Faith. Dragon King, my level has been suppressed by 3 levels. Roving Sword reported to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded. With a wave of his arm, a handful of growing soil appeared in his hand. Roving Sword, absorb it and see if there are any changes. Wang Xian said to Roving Sword. Roving Sword nodded and immediately took it. With a thought, he began to absorb it. As the growing soil entered his body bit by bit, he was slightly taken aback. Dragon King, I can sense that the rejection of me by this universe has decreased significantly. Soon, Roving Sword's eyes lit up as he reported to Wang Xian. Wang Xian's eyes also lit up. This growing soil is in your body. Are there any repercussions? Can you expel it in the future? For the time being, there are no repercussions. The growing soil is in my body and doesn't affect my body at all. I can expel it, but it's very fast. Moreover, The growing soil that is expelled will dissipate immediately. Roving Sword felt it and said, "All right, that's enough." Wang Xian revealed a smile. With a wave of his arm, he took out more growing soil. "Absorb it until the universe suppresses and absorbs you. Then stop." "Yes, Dragon King." Roving Sword answered immediately and began to absorb in large amount. Wang Xian waited quietly at the side and looked at the growing soil in the space ring. There was a lot of it, at least dozens of tons. Other than the growing soil, there were a few other special treasures. Some of them weren't of much use to Wang Xian. The corpse of an expert from another universe, a spiritual corpse. From Wang Xian's senses, this spiritual corpse was the body of a Ninth Order Universe Lord Realm expert. It also contained a tremendous amount of energy. To Wang Xian, this might not be of much use. But to Ming Shusheng, it was definitely a great opportunity and treasure. Ming Shosheng, one of the 7 mad devils, was an expert of the Nether clan. This soul corpse was very useful to him. In addition to this corpse, there was also a special treasure from another universe that contained majestic energy. Wang Xian was more familiar with this energy. The power of faith. However, Wang Xian could not use the treasures of the faith universe. The infinite space jar was useless to Wang Xian. The last treasure was the broken piece of wood. It was a part of the spatial bridge, something that seemed to be of the wood element. Wang Xian wasn't sure if the broken wood was useful, but he could let Enlai bring it back to the Dragon Palace to take a look. Let's see if the progenitor tree has any reaction. Wang Xian stood by the side and observed Roving Sword's absorption speed quietly. Buzz. More than 10 minutes later, Wang Xian sensed that the suppression from the sword and magic universe on Roving Sword had vanished completely. Roving Sword also opened his eyes, revealing a hint of surprise. Very good. Wang Xian looked at the amount of breath soil absorbed by Roving Sword and revealed a smile. He had only absorbed a few kilograms of breath soil of the universe and eliminated the repulsive force from this universe. In that case, the amount of breath soil in his hands was enough to attract tens of thousands of disciples to this sword and magic universe. Wang Xian was deep in thought. Currently, the starry universe was the main activity ground of the Dragon Palace. However, the starry universe was still suppressed by the universe. Only Lan Qingyu and Xiao Lan were not suppressed. However, Lan Qingyu and Xiao Lan did not dare to step into the infinite starry universe. This caused the Dragon Palace to be greatly restricted in obtaining resources. Needless to say, the 9-source universe. Currently, the development of the Dragon Palace had gradually reached a bottleneck, and the sword and magic universe was a good place for the Dragon Palace to develop. It could attract tens of thousands of disciples of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian was even prepared to build a forbidden land here. The name could be Void Dragon Forbidden Land. It would represent the Void Divine Dragon Sanctuary. He had already thought of the location of the Forbidden Land. It would be here. The Forbidden Land, Void Moon, would be changed to the Forbidden Land, Void Dragon Forbidden Land. Not bad, not bad. At the thought of this, a faint smile appeared on his face. Enlai, bring 10,000 dragon guards and 10 black dragon species. Wang Xian looked at Enlai and immediately gave his orders. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded and his figure instantly disappeared. The dragon guards were the best choice to come to the sword and magic universe. This was because they cultivated swordsmanship. It could be verified with the cultivation of the sword and magic universe. The other 10 black dragon species were to guard the Void Dragon Forbidden Land in the future. The Void Dragon Forbidden Land needed at least some experts who could hold the fort. Of course, Wang Xian had his own ideas. He would be the master of the Void Dragon Forbidden Land in the future. His main body would always be here while his Void Divine Dragon body would be in the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land. With a decision in mind, Wang Xian began to plan. An hour later, 10,000 dragon guards and 10 black dragon species arrived. Wang Xian immediately got them to absorb the breath soil of the universe. Buzz buzz buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. When all the disciples of Dragon Palace had absorbed the energy, they looked at Wang Xian and awaited his orders. For now, you will cultivate here. After I take control of this place, I will build a forbidden land in this universe. It will be called the Void Dragon Forbidden Land. This will also be a restriction for our dragon palace in this universe. In the future, you can also go to this universe to cultivate and look for opportunities. Wang Xian ordered them. Yes, Dragon King. The disciples of Dragon Palace answered immediately. All right, let's continue our cultivation. Wang Xian nodded and ordered Enlai to bring him to the 8th level of the Moon Pagoda. Back in the body of the Void Divine Dragon, Wang Xian continued his cultivation. A few hundred years later, there was a wave of energy coming from the side. Wang Xian opened his eyes and saw Long Yinyan, who was practicing her spiritual arts. Why aren't you cultivating? Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before asking her. I'm about to break through if I continue cultivating. I can't break through anymore. I have to start practicing my spiritual arts to increase my combat experience, Long Yinyan said to Wang Xian. Once she broke through, she would reach the level 8 Universe Venerable Realm. In that case, her combat strength among the level 8 Universe Venerables wouldn't be too strong. At that time, it would basically be impossible for her to fight against 2 or 3 people who were stronger than her.